Grace, thank you so much for sharing that beautiful message with us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I think you have a wonderful perspective on joy. Growing up in Africa and coming from Africa, I'd like to talk to you about my friends that have visited Africa have certainly seen the poverty and the struggle that exists there, but have also been struck by the simple joy that the people feel in their lives. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, and for me, I actually didn't want to talk about joy as a smiley face kind of joy. That joy is endurance. That joy is not just this kind of just a smile, but that there's something powerful and strong about joy, about knowing the poverty and the difficulty of yesterday and having the hope about tomorrow. Joy is not among my favorite words, actually. I'd rather talk about grief and suffering and those kind of heavy things. But joy, as I have explored joy, and C.S. Lewis especially talking about surprised by joy, on the power of joy.
So you're talking about how joy can sustain us through difficult times into the future to appreciate that even more.
Yes, yes, very much so.
You mentioned C.S. Lewis, of course, his book Surprised by Joy, and she was the unexpected gift in his life, who later became his wife. You know, he also talks about waiting, and you, in your beautiful, beautiful story about your home in Kenya, Meru, waiting for the drops of rain. C.S. Lewis says, give me frozen pipes and blizzards, but not this waiting room of the world, talking about winter. But you, ironically, to most of us, are waiting for the rain as a symbol of joy. Most people want the sun.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think the joy of the rain might have been fed by the waiting. I think the passion in the joy we felt when the rain came was perhaps because of the waiting, which is so very different from the way life is around me anymore, where you don't have to wait. You kind of give me the diet pill that works now. You know?
Instant remedy.
Instant remedy now. Give me a happiness now. So the joy in learning also how to wait, and that can feed the passion in when the moment happens, and the hope of tomorrow, you know, on that. What is your experience of joy?
Well, joy for me, I recall sharing times with my grandmother, who I was very close to. You know, it's an emotional thing for me as much as an intellectual response. But I think we don't have enough of it in life. As you said, we're very good at happiness, but it's harder to go deeper, to have the patience to really wait to experience joy. I don't know if you agree as well.
Well, joy for me, a couple of days ago, was seeing a smile break out on my 21-year-old niece's face as she's dying of brain tumor. And yet her girlfriends gathered from college, and she sat there nearly paralyzed, unable to speak, but the smile broke out on her face. And that was one of those unexpected, transforming moments of joy for all of us around her. I'm looking at you, and you are so beautiful in your native, beautiful native dress. Tell about your garment, which you bought in Kenya last year.
Yeah. Well, I often wear my African garb, African clothes. People ask me, what do you call it? I say clothes. Just because it's also a way of living Africa for me as I travel around the world, as I live in this place now, as a representative of a whole group of people, many of them invisible on the planet. So that's part of, I guess, that. But I like the way you've talked about the unexpectedness of joy, and also the signs of joy. What are the signs of joy that I expressed in us? What are the signs of joy?
And of course, you have a beautiful child, Eric. Tell about, he's 5 years old now. Tell about the joy that you see in your child and the significance of his middle name.
Oh, Eric Mugambi, I have a child going into K5 now, kindergarten, and it's been the most wonderful experience of my life. This joy bringer, who was totally unexpected, just a gift from God, a prayer that was answered, and I hadn't even prayed this prayer, that God is so gracious that God hears prayers that you should have prayed but didn't know you needed to pray. So this joy bringer of a child who teaches me to just appreciate so many little things in my busy life, to take care of the little things as well.
Eric Mugambi,
whom
you followed all the way to kindergarten to take his picture.
Can you believe he went to kindergarten? I put him in the school bus and actually got in the van and followed the school bus to school and watched him get off the school bus.
Well, I was going to say, I know that God calls us to experience joy.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you can speak to us about how we can come closer to that in our prayer life, or when you're preaching and talking about joy. Where does that come from, so that we can clear away the clutter, as you talk about, and really go a little deeper in that experience?
I love Jesus is so gracious when he looks around at his friends, people like me who are asking the same question. And he's so gracious in saying, I will give you my joy, that your joy will be complete. Because I think many of us don't trust joy. Maybe some of us trust suffering more, some of us trust grief more. Joy seems as though you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, so you daren't be too high so that you don't crash too low. So Jesus almost has to take a piece of himself and say, here's bread, eat this, chomp on this, that I can be part of you, and you might experience my joy, because I know you're nervous about joy.
Joy, not for all circumstances, but in all circumstances,
yes.
even when we're at the bottom of the pit. I want to have you transport us back to Kenya for a moment. The culture there, and your father, you yourself are the child of a distinguished Methodist bishop in Kenya, and Methodist University that you have been so active in there. Does your father speak to you about how proud he is?
Oh, I am very proud of my father and my mother. They've just been such wonderful role models for me.
But does he tell you how proud he is of you? You've got to share that with us.
My father doesn't tell me in my face how proud he is of me, but I know he is, because I have heard it from those he has spoken to me about, of me too.
And this reflects a cultural value, doesn't it?
Yes,
From
yes,
your homeland.
yes, culturally, at least from our tribe, he would not speak of his pride in me to me openly, but those who hear him in my absence say that he glows when he speaks about me. And I am also very proud of him. Yeah.
And yet there is great joy in the African faith practice experience, right? The drumming and many other things, I'm sure, that you experience when you're...
Yes. I mean, you've got to sing out the despair. You've got to sing out the giving up. You've got to sing away all that in order to clear the clutter, to be able to have 2020 vision about tomorrow.
Is it Toi Toi? Isn't that the chant that is a chant of joy?
South Africa,
yes,
South Africa,
yeah.
Yeah, and yet I want to say it's not a smiley face joy. Oh, no. It's not just a very superficial, blind joy, but it's sort of it's sort of a very subversive stand that, in spite of the despair, I'm going to dare hope. It looks like a dead end, but I'm going to find a way up. So there's a certain subversive stand in joy.
So there's a soaring up,
yes.
rising up.
Rising up.
Your Cambridge England grad.
Yes.
You've traveled all over the world.
Yeah.
Your recent book, Words of Fire.
Yes.
And you're doing a dissertation, or is that done yet?
Not yet. That's
What
on
is
the
it?
back burner as I
In 30
continue to
seconds,
be.
what do you hope it will be?
I'm now working on another book. It's called Elsewhere, and it's about living in different places around the world.
What would inspire that?
The joy of living in different places around the world.
Like?
Like Lapland, Sweden, and Kenya, and Wisconsin, and
Where
Tennessee.
you serve
yes.
your local
yes.
church, Grace.
Wonderful.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you so
yeah,
much,
yeah.
Grace.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
name,
Thank you.
Grace.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being with us.